Hello there, people of the internet. My name is Pluto Jagero, and this is Dialogues with Jagero. Today, I am in Laikipia County talking to Mr. Pluto Richards, a man who was brought up, who was born, bred in Jamaica, left Jamaica for America, the land of the free, and now he wants to come to Kenya and settle here and enjoying the amazing culture of Africa and Kenya. Yep. Mr. Pluto, how are you feeling?
Good. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Thank you very much for reaching out, and asking me to hold a conversation with you. And
thanks for having me.
When I heard about your story, I was sold. I wanted to have that conversation with you.
Good.
Because Dialogues with Jagero is about having bold conversation. And something really happened for my channel. I started it as a Kenyan channel, but then we had a few videos that really went viral.
Right.
So suddenly I found myself having a subscription base of more than 50% from outside Kenya. And so I decided that, okay, this is now not a Kenyan channel, it is an African channel, it is a global channel.
There you go.
So now that we are going to be talking about Jamaica, by the way, why is it that there are, when we talk about Africa, we are black people in this continent. Right. And then you have people coming from Haiti that are black, and then you have Jamaicans that are black. Do you know how that story started?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for having me, for one thing. And may I say firstly that I think every black person in every country should visit Africa at least once and experience the difference for themselves. This is not something you can explain to someone. This is something that you just feel, Yeah. It's hard to put it into words. The feeling you get when you land in an African country. Well, I know for me when I landed here, the feeling I get, Of course, all these years I was always wondering and wishing to come into an African country. But you cannot really explain to someone how it is until you experience it. So that's the first thing I should say.
Yeah, and that is interesting because I have a follow-up question on that.
Sure.
Africa is often referred to as the dark continent.
Yeah.
Right?
I know.
And a lot of people outside Africa, in Europe and America, they don't even recognize countries within Africa. They just say, "Oh, you're going out there to Africa," you see, and that is the most confusing thing for me because Africa is a very confusing place. A lot of people who have come here find it organic, find it green, find it beautiful, but you see, you look at Europe and you want to get a visa and you're saying, well, we're coming from a very bad place and we are afraid that if you come here to Europe, you're going to get stuck here.
Well, what we don't realize as Africans, and I call myself African, of course, is the richness of this country. People say Africa is poor, Africa is this, Africa is that. Africa is rich in everything, and I see Africa as the leading economic power in the next 10, 15 years. This is just me, my opinion, really. I think people don't know what Africa is, and the media will tell you this and tell you that in other countries that, well, they're just saying it. And that's what people know, what they heard. So they don't really know what it is to be here. That's why I say they should visit.
Let's talk about yourself.
Yeah, okay.
Pluto Richards. I don't know what that means. Do you know why you're called Pluto? Do you know there's a...
I do know why I'm called Pluto.
you do know?
Yeah. When I was in school, when I was a kid, playing music. I was, kindergarten. We started out messing around. We have little groups, little bands in Jamaica, and we have competing schools doing the same thing, And there was a guy in the other group, the other school. His name was Popeye. And you know the story of Popeye and Blutus? No, well, that was like a fable where Popeye was the strong guy. He blew away everything. He ate spinach and he got big muscles and strong and he can fight everybody. So his nickname was Popeye, and they tried to call me Pluto, but it didn't come out right. It came out as Pluto, and that's how it stuck. That's where I got the name from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But what did they mean? What did they want to? Why were they calling you Pluto?
Because we were competing guitar players.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
All right. So tell me about. Okay, your name is Pluto. You're born in which? Tell me about where you were born. How it was like where you were born.
Yeah, I was born. Sorry.
The only place I know is Kingston, Jamaica.
Yeah, right.
So you could just tell me where you were born, in how many families you were, what your father was doing, what your mother was doing, how many you were as kids, how many you were in the family.
I was born in St. Andrew, Belmont, St. Andrew, Jamaica. And we were a family of 11, and I was right smack in the middle. That's where my place was. My father was a farmer, a butcher, and of course he preaches too, you know. So that's how my family setting was. We grew up with organic foods, and we were healthy, you know. And that's why this was so appealing to me, because I wanted to get back to some of those things after living in America so long and having the foods that I had there. I wanted to get back to the real thing, let's put it that way. Yeah. So in Jamaica, you know, you wake up in the morning, you have fruits and vegetables all around. You have all kinds of fruit trees, mango trees, orange trees, grapefruit trees. You walk outside, a mango fell and hit you in the head. You have coconut trees. That's how we grew up. That's what I knew then until I got to America. It was different. When I got to America, and heard the word organic foods, I'm like, what are you talking about, organic food? I didn't know the difference until I learned what the difference was. But everything I ate, my life was all organic before I came to America. Yeah.
So you go to school. What was your type of schooling? So that I want to understand what made you go to America. Well, so you started. You were going to school. Can you talk a little bit of your schooling in Jamaica?
Well, I didn't do much school in Jamaica because I went to America for schooling. So I went to, like, what do you call it? A public school, you'd call here, for a little while in Jamaica. And that's when I left for America to go to school in America. So I went to a few colleges, schools in America. I studied accounting, among other things. You know, I don't want to. To me, the education I got was what it was. You know, I think education is a lot broader than just degrees. Just degrees. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a lot broader than just degrees. You know.
Yeah. So tell me about you making the decision to go to America. How did you come to that decision? What happened that facilitated your immigration to the United States?
Well, you know, like everybody else here, even here, people have the desire to go to America because it was so flashy and, you know, looks so more rich, and you want to be part of that. I mean, a lot of people here wished for a visa to go to America. It's the same feeling I had. I wanted to go. So I eventually was able to do that. But I go with the intention of staying for a number of years, going to school, study, and then come back to Jamaica. But the longer I stayed, the more I get drawn into the American lifestyle and, all that. So it just kept me there over the years. Yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of people also, even from Africa, go there to study, but then they find out that they stick around in the United States. I wonder why this happens. Is it when you say you're drawn into American lifestyle, what exactly does that mean?
Okay. When you go to America, or I can only speak for America, but the lifestyle, you have to start over again, right? Starting over again, and to get to a certain place, starting over again is a big thing. And to get to a certain place, you start thinking, do I want to go back and start over again? You understand?
Yes.
Because every time you go to somewhere new, you have to start over. Okay. And there are attractions in America, don't get me wrong.
What are the attractions? I'm interested.
The fast cars, the highways, the, food. Not the same as here, but food. Yeah, so, everything, the lifestyle, the big cities, the bright lights. You want to be part of that, because it's different from what you had. But eventually, your body starts to feel like, I want some of that back, some of my roots back, some of my same foods back, some of this back, some of that back. It's like you can't get away from your roots, let's put it that way. Yeah.
But then sometimes the roots, it's very, very interesting when you talk about the roots, because I imagine, when did you go back, at what age did you go to America from Jamaica?
I got to America when I was 12, 14, 12,
14, yeah?
Yeah.
But I can imagine that by that time you're really not matured. And so I wonder how you go and set up yourself in America, and at some point you realize that, well, I really need to go. That sticks around. The life in Jamaica, that organic life, I don't know about organic life in America anymore, because I don't think that we have any organic life in America anymore. But then, do you actually remember the life that you used to live in Jamaica?
Oh,
the fruits falling on you?
Yes, for sure, man. I mean, that is part of you that never goes away. A part of me that never went away, actually. I used to remember running up the hills down. Our house used to be on a little plateau, right? And actually, I wrote a song about it because I remember in the mornings, you wake up in the morning time, and the sun just came over Blue Mountain, and just the beams just, and it's like the world wakes up around you. It just cuts through the mist. And then everything just come to life. You have the birds chirping, everything, just the cocks crowing, those things you don't forget. It's you don't forget them. Yeah.
I want to talk to you about a little bit about the culture in Jamaica. Every country has a culture. There's a culture in Kenya.
Right.
Which is very like Kenyan. There's a Ghanaian culture. You could say there is a Nigerian culture. A lot of people, I would think, do not really understand the Jamaican culture. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Jamaica. Then we can go back to America and continue the story of America.
Sure.
Like, for example, when I was growing up, I knew everybody in Jamaica smokes weed or smokes pot. Anybody looking, when you hear about Jamaica, you think, okay,
weed.
I'm thinking weed.
Yeah.
I am thinking party.
Parties.
I'm thinking dance. I'm thinking.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm thinking everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's everything going on there is beautiful.
Yeah,
You know?
It is.
So what is like the culture of Jamaica? The culture that involves the food, and especially the music culture. How does this get to be a rich Jamaican culture?
I guess because, well, let's talk about the food for one thing. Or, no, let's talk about the herbs culture, right?
When we say herbs, do we mean one herb, or we are talking about herbs?
We're talking about herbs, you know. We call it ganja in Jamaica.
Ganja?
Yeah. You know, funny thing, I grew up in a religious family.
Yeah.
And believe me when I tell you this.
Yeah.
Nobody today believes that when I tell them I never smoke herbs.
Yeah.
You know,
and we're talking about smoking ganja.
Ganja.
Yeah.
You know, nobody believes it. Nobody believes it. I'm on stage sometimes, and some guys just come with some herbs and say, you know, put it in my hand. Everybody believe I'm a avid herb smoker, right? But I'm telling you, I've seen some things that made me say, nah, man, I don't want to do this, right? First of all, I was brought up in a religious family. That they
was that Catholic?
No, Seventh-day Adventist.
Sorry?
Seventh-day
Adventist. Yeah, okay.
They tell you what is sin, what's not sin. Smoking is sin, this is sin, that is sin, you know. So I was kind of a good guy, you know, trying not to be sinful because of all this stuff around it. So I never smoked when I was a kid. So when I was able to do it, I never did. Because I'm telling you, this is my first, I saw this guy once. In Jamaica, we have this, what we call spice bun. It's, you know, about so round with, you know, it's made of bread. It's like you could call it a little cake, but it's sweet and it's got raisins in it, nice. And they put, they wrap them in cellophane paper wraps, right? And I remember this guy once smoked some herbs, and he got it. Come on, man. He went into the store and he bought 6 of them. And he started eating them with the cellophane paper and all. Man, he bite through the cellophane paper. He didn't take them out. He just started eating
because
them.
he was high on ganja.
And laughing. He was high. He was high, man. I said, man, I'm not going to be like that, man.
So that's what you saw.
That's part, you know, that's just one thing, you know. I said, man, nah, man, I don't want to be like that, because he was totally out of it, man. And he was laughing. Another thing, too, is when I was like about, 10, 12, I was learning to play guitar, right?
Yeah.
And there was this group up in this countryside. And you know, in the countryside, they grow these things, man.
Yeah.
They grow them, and they use them. I went up there and with a guitar, he was playing guitar, and he went outside and said, "Wait a minute, man, I need
I need some smoke."
Yeah, I need. He went outside and he puffed the herbs, puff it, man. He came back inside and he grabbed the guitar and he was playing. This was a 2-chord song, you know, like a G to A minor. And they playing, and he grabbed the G chord and he hold on to the G chord and he's playing and laughing and smiling. And even when the other members of the band changed to A minor, he still hold that G. Until today, he hasn't changed yet. And I said, man, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
So there are
instances. It sounds to me that they were basically just abusing the weed.
Yeah, whatever. You know? So,
okay. So, but then, you know, when, for example, a friend of mine who is biking told me that in Colombia, they have the coca leaves. That is a very respectable herb.
right.
in South America or North America or whatever,
Right.
and people use it for different purposes. And he's telling me that he was biking across the country, and then he got a serious pneumonia infection, and they used the coca leaves. They boiled the coca leaves and put them in water and gave him to drink, and that is what sort of saved him. So when you talk about ganja and weed in Jamaica, I've always wondered whether it's a herb, because if you hear people like the Jamaican reggae musicians singing about it, almost to the point of, when you listen to it, it sounds like they're worshiping the herb. And so the question is, culturally, could it have been used for different purposes, for healing purposes, and not basically just smoking and then laughing and playing the A minors to all the day?
It has, and I told you the sort of quote unquote bad side of it.
Yeah.
But yes, it has healing powers. I've heard, and I can only talk about what I've heard because I've never had the experience myself. But yeah, it does have healing powers for colds, flus, a bunch of other things that I've heard about. But like I said, I've never actually used it to know myself.
Yeah,
and
but how do they use it? Do they smoke it for this kind of remedies, or
they
they
do
just
it in,
use the leaves? Or
they do it in teas.
Okay.
Even smoking it, they say it does something for them, different people. But like I said, I can only talk about what I have heard.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong now. I'm not saying anything bad about herbs now. I'm just talking about my experiences with it and without it.
Yes, exactly.
Understand?
So you've never smoked it?
Never smoked.
Wow.
Never smoked.
I don't know whether to say congratulations.
I know. A lot of people might be looking at you, man, I don't believe you.
I don't believe you too.
There you go. I never smoked. I never drank either.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need my body for something else, man.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's go back to America, can we? Let's go back to America.
Okay.
Yeah. So you grew up in America. How does it feel? What do you see different in Jamaica when you land in America and you start living that life in America?
Well, first of all, the cold hit me when I get there, man.
Yeah. Where were you?
I went to New York.
In Jersey,
New
or
York,
were you
New York.
New York?
I left 85 degrees in Jamaica and come to 5 degrees in America.
Negative 80. You went all the way. Negative 80.
You ever watch that movie? What do you call it? I forgot the name of it. Where the Jamaicans come to the plane and they turn. I said, no, man, I can't handle it. They want to go back, I
remember I was once in New York, and then I went out of the train station. I had to rush back to look for plugs. Yeah.
Well, like I said, nobody knows what 5 degrees unless you experience it.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 5 degrees. Let me tell you, man, I've spent some times in New York. I mean, like around Rockefeller Center, where I'm in mitts. I mean, I have here muffs, I have socks, sticks, I have coats, I have everything. And that wind just, when you turn the corner in some buildings on Fifth Avenue, we call it the hawk, just hit you.
The wind.
Oh my God. That wind from the water of the Hudson River. Oh man, you can't believe what cold is until you feel that. I'm not a cold person.
It is so funny because you can look good as much as you want, but you can look warm and keep warm the much as you want, but it still just seeps through.
There's no. I'm telling you, man. I'm in midst. My ears are covered, but they are peeling off with cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. My body is just not built for cold weather. It's not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's get back to, so you finished school. How does your life start panning out after you've gone to the school?
Well, okay, like I said, my plan was to go back to Jamaica.
Yeah.
But then you meet women, and then you get involved with relationships, and that
I know about that.
and that kind of kept you.
They make you stick around.
Make you stick around. There you go. And so the longer you stayed, you just get more drawn into the lifestyle there. And not that women are not in Jamaica now; there are plenty of women there, but this is what you have right now. And so, so those things kept you away. I mean, you just get caught up in life's whatever it is, mysteries or. In life, you just get caught up in it, and it can keep you away or keep you at a certain place for a long time. And the longer you stay, the harder it gets to go back.
The last 2 months ago, I had an interview with an American, who has been there since his teenagehood, and now he's actually. It has been difficult for him, but he's moving back to Kenya.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of other Americans that were there, even in the 80s, some that went there in the 80s, and have decided that they are coming back home. Yeah. So I asked this guy when I met him on what we call, on the other side where I was born, the 3 islands. The other side was called Mfangano Island, Rusinga Island, and which one is the other one, Takawiri Island. So I asked him, why do you want to come back? I mean, everybody wants to be there. And he just told me, I'm tired, man. I'm tired of running around. So, I mean, even if I subscribe to the New York Times and Wired and the Wirecutter and all these other guys, and the more you read about the American lifestyle, and the more you feel like it's also really weakens your body. You don't feel all right. The life there. My sister lives in Norway, and it is funny that she lives in Norway, but her entire life is just here. Right. When she posts on Facebook, she posts on Swahili.
Yeah.
And she's been there for long, bro.
Right. I understand.
And I have visited her in Norway, and she tells me that if she wants to have a good laugh, then she has to take a train 4 hours away to go and sit down with a fellow Kenyan and just have a good laugh.
I can definitely relate to that because what your friend says is true. I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about America or anything like that, but the lifestyle really gets to you after a while. America is work, go to bed.
Yeah.
If you have a beautiful house, you have to maintain it. It takes a lot to maintain. You get tired of those things after a while, and you want something different. But I think the main thing is people who have experienced other cultures, especially as a kid, that never left them. And all the glitz and glamour of big cities always catch up to you after a while. You want to get back to normal, which our experience as a kid, I find moving to Africa is more like, I always put it this way. I want to take a step back.
Yeah.
Because America is fast. America is growing, fast. Yeah. Now we are talking about artificial intelligence to do certain things, and I'm kind of skeptical about those things. I want to go back a little bit, step back into reality a little bit. I like a little bit of that more. So.
Gozawa, just let it ring. Gozawa.
Oh.
I love it.
Yeah.
It makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your business, which I think is amazing.
Thank you.
So I like spices, but spices sort of my stomach rejects it. I mean, in almost 50% of the cases. I went to an Indian restaurant, in Cape Town last week. I had a very bad time there. The food was nice, enjoyed it, we loved it, and then we took nice coffee after that. But for the next 24 hours,
they didn't like you that much.
I was in the gutter, man.
Yeah,
I was downrailing everything inside my body.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of spices, and this is the thing that I carry from. Like, for example, my friend went to Colombia, and all I asked him to bring me was spices. Right. When I go to Nigeria, I bring Nigerian spices. When I go to Ghana, I bring Ghana. When I go to Zanzibar, I get and my wife really loves cooking with those spices.
Good.
Though sometimes I feel like she puts a lot. So let's talk about spices. Spices sort of make our cooking better. And take me through your, getting into this and falling in love with making it. How did that work for you? How did it start?
Okay.
Maybe you can bring the story from the rich culture of spices in Jamaica, and then just talk about how you started doing this in America.
Okay. First of all, my mom used to make all these nice dishes, right? Foods that just, make you sing, literally. So when I was, the thing is, in Jamaica, the boy is not allowed in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's the girls' part. The boys all do boys' work. The girls do girls' work. So when I came to America and be on my own, I knew nothing about cooking.
Wow.
Absolutely nothing. I'll tell you the story. I was, the first time I tried to cook a steak, I burned one side so bad, it started smoking up the place. I was lucky they didn't call the fire department, Anyway, one side was burned, the other side was burned, and the inside was still raw. What I'm saying? I didn't know how to do anything when it comes to cooking. I had to learn on my own. So I did. And slowly, I asked my sisters about how to do this, how to do that, But, however, in New York, you could get any kind of food you want. Any kind. Jamaican food, because you have Jamaican restaurants all over the place, whatever.
Yeah.
But when I moved from New York to North Carolina, I could not get those foods. So I started experimenting, doing it on my own, calling up my sister, say, how do you do this? How do you do that? And started developing my own little repertoire, my own little recipe book and stuff like that. When it comes to jerk chicken, I asked them, because I remembered all these tastes and these foods my mom used to cook. The funny thing, you usually never forget a taste, Yeah. And so I started experimenting, and I didn't get it right there. I tried. It took me 2 years to come up with a recipe for that, right? But finally, I came up with something that I was kind of satisfied with, and that's because I couldn't get it there. If I could have gotten it there, maybe this wouldn't have been born. So I came up with the recipe, and one weekend there were 4 couples. One Christmas weekend, there were 4 couples. We wanted to go to the beach for the holiday.
Yeah.
But it flooded at the beach. There was a storm and it flooded, so we couldn't go. We decided to have lunch or dinner at each person's house this week, next week. These are 4 of us. So each weekend we have a meal. So when it comes to my turn, I said, okay, I'm making jerk chicken. One of the couples, which I'm first meeting, didn't say anything, but they were in awe of it, because not in a good way, in a bad way. Because prior to that, 2 weeks they had jerk chicken and it was all pepper. There was no flavor, nothing. It was just hot and horrible. and he was dreading coming to experience the same thing again, right?
Jack Pepper.
There you go, Jack Pepper. He was like literally dreading it. So he came and he reluctantly, he take a spoon and he stopped in mid-here and he said, "You got to market this," right?
Yeah.
And with every bite, you got to market this, And he said, you could call it Caribbean bliss because that's what it tastes like to him. It's Caribbean bliss.
Yeah.
And I said, damn, that name was too good, man. I can't let that name pass, And he kept saying it, Caribbean bliss, and that just triggered it, and that's what started it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what started this business.
Yeah. So but then something that I need clarification on is that you cooked a meal,
right?
But you are in the business of spices.
Not that time. No. I was just trying to get the taste my mother used to, from the memory of my mother's cooking. I was just trying to cook a meal for myself, from memory, because I couldn't get it anywhere else. You understand? And so that's what I was trying to do, literally.
So how does it develop into spices business?
Well, like he said, you got to market this, and once you call it Caribbean bliss, I use the same spice combination and start to look for ways to bottle it, label it, and look for ways to take it into the market.
Yeah, the food, the spice, or the chicken.
The spice. The spice is what makes the chicken taste good.
Yes.
The combination of spices. So, so I started looking for that process reluctantly. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't like, I got to do it, So,
do you mind talking about the job that you're doing at this time when all this was going on?
Well, I was working in printing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was doing lithography at the time. Yeah. And mostly I was playing music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Music, there is the type of music where you just play in restaurants, you play at good places, but you didn't record music. Was that the music that you're doing?
I was playing in clubs, in restaurants, in concerts. I love concerts more than anything else. You have big audiences, and I had a band, of course.
You had a band that you owned.
Yeah. I had a band with 7 people.
Wow.
And, I was doing tours and all that stuff.
Yeah, and playing covers.
No, I don't do covers, man. I mean, it's not that covers are bad.
Yeah. But
I just feel like you can get a better sound from just playing the record than me trying to copy what somebody else is do. If you play the record, you have a good sound. I mean, a lot of people, it's a lot tougher to start with your own music and start to get it out there. But I really felt that was the way to go, because somebody has to do their song already. It's done. You're gonna try to do it better, or how is that gonna work?
Yeah.
You go out there and play somebody's song. It's like, well, one thing, you're promoting the person, which is not a bad thing, but it's somebody else's song. What are you as a musician? Where is your art? Where is your creativity if you're playing what is already done? You know what I'm saying? Create something of your own.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I've always felt that way, because I love Marley. I used to hang out with a guy when I was a kid, and he's one of my idols, And I do cover some of his songs sometimes. He's the only one.
You used to hang out with who?
Bob. When I was a kid, I used to be hanging around. Anyway.
You used to hang out with Bob Marley?
Yeah.
You knew Bob Marley as a kid?
I knew when I was a kid, I knew Marley. He was grown up, but I knew him.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, he used to say, "What, mute?" It's a Jamaican way of saying, "How you doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
It's also very interesting to me that because you don't have that heavy Jamaican accent.
Well, now
everything
after this
just
years,
passes
you know, but what you want to hear? We say, "Well gone." Me no know, man.
Anyway, let's go back to the spices thing. So now you are into printing. You're doing music, and then you start making these spices, and you want to push it to the market.
Right. So So once I started out and see the reaction from people, because it's unique up to this day. It's a very unique recipe product. It's all healthy, and I believe in herbs because that's when I was a kid. That's how my mom grew us up. You know, when you have a cold, she went out there and got combination of herbs, give you some tea, more than good the next day. That's how I grew up. Doctors, you go to doctors for dental stuff like that. You don't get sick. You know, I don't get sick. You know. So I believed in the herbs and spices. So all my products are herbs and spices based. There are no artificial products, no fructose, corn syrup, MSG, GMO, no wheat, no dairy, no nuts, nothing artificial in any one of my products. And that's how, and that's the uniqueness of them. And they taste good. That's the thing. With all of this, when you hear somebody talk about gluten-free products, gluten-free stuff don't usually taste good. But all my products taste good.
Yeah.
And I can do things with my products. If you cook like, in America in Thanksgiving, turkeys are the number one. It's like a national food for Thanksgiving. My product tastes the best on turkey. I have to say, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that when something is good, it is good. But then how do you now push it to the market? How does it start?
Okay, so I had to market it. So I get it to...
Around which year is this that this thing was all started?
This is like about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Just around 2000?
Somewhere there. Nah, maybe a little bit earlier. 98. Somewhere there.
Yeah.
Somewhere there, I'm saying. But anyway, okay, so I had to get it out in the marketplace. So I had to find a way to bottle it. I bottle it to a certain amount, and I approach these food stores and ask them. First, I asked them to taste it. Taste the product, sample it, and then they like it. They say put it on the shelf. They will take it. This one place I remember. This first guy, his name is Paul Saltzman. He was the first guy who would take my product and said, "Okay, I'll put it in the store. But look at the labels. You have to change the labels." That's what he says. These labels are not, up to standard.
It was rough with the label.
It was rough, So I had to figure out how to do that, and I did it. And he took it in the store, and I started promoting it by going to the store with samples and let people taste it, and they started buying it and stuff like that. And once they like something, they come back for more and come back for more and come back for more. And that starts the process. You go to another store, you do the same thing. You go to another store, you do the same thing until it spreads by people telling people, "Oh, you hear about that product? That's good, that's good." And, so that's how it started. So then I didn't have money to market it on a wide scale like television ads or anything like that, So I had to do all the footwork myself. So I went different places all over the country, different states, doing the same thing, promoting, trying to get distributors to promote and all that. So that's how it started.
At what point did you realize that I need to take a step back and go back to that, beautiful life, something that resembles back there in Jamaica?
Okay, well, that's always been there.
Yeah.
Of course, sometimes it fades a little bit, but it's always been there. I've always, I guess what took place for that, or substitute for that feeling at the time, was I watch a lot of African documentaries, a lot about the wildlife, the wildebeest, the wildlife migration of the wildebeest, yes. Mm-hmm. And look a lot about the river there that the alligators live in. Some of them are 150 years old. Did you know that?
No.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, so I studied, I used to follow up on all these things, watch a lot of documentaries. And the more I looked around, Africa was one of the places I wanted to come to. I knew nothing about, I heard the same thing everybody else heard about Africa, is this country, that's and that and that, what's negative about it, and not many good things except what I watched, until I met my wife, who's from here, and that's how the journey started. So when I decided to come here, I've been.
When is the first time you came here?
2017. And but before that, I was always writing music about Africa, about our people. That's been a focal point of mine ever since. I guess I see our people as Africans in a different way from most people. I see us as the strongest race in the world, right? I see us as having the best genes, right? So I have a very high degree of respect for our culture. So I was always pushing to come here, or looking at this as an alternative to Jamaica. Why? Because Jamaica is small. Not because I hate Jamaica or anything like that. I looked at Jamaica before, and Jamaica is small. And so Kenya is huge, man. Kenya is, and this is just one part of Africa. So that's what led me to think, oh, yeah, this.
How did you guys come all the way? When people come here, they want to be in Nairobi, get an apartment in Nairobi, get an apartment in Mombasa. Well, we decided to take a tangent, come all the way.
For me, living in big cities were over for me. I lived in New York. I live in these bigger cities that, you experience the congestion, the lifestyle, and, the experience of that made me say, okay, this is enough. I want to go back. I don't want this kind of life anymore. This hustle and bustle, big city stuff. I want a little quieter and a little more reserve, So that's when we discovered here through a brochure.
Through a brochure?
Yeah, this exact complex. We discovered it through a brochure, and we started calling up people to find out about it, and we eventually bought, and started the process.
How does owning, when you heard about, because a lot of people are confused about pricing in Kenyan properties, the land. When you heard about it, did you easily think, oh, that is affordable, that is expensive?
First, affordable. We think there are certain things here that I like a lot. On the outskirts of town, the maintenance of a house is pretty low. So I wanted to be on the outskirts because I needed more land. I don't want to deal with the city expenses, and even though it's a lot probably easier to get resources in the city, like you want to buy some sodas or chips or that, you can just run downstairs and buy it.
Yeah.
Here it's a little bit more difficult to get those things, but I prefer this to the city life.
Yeah. Do you sometimes feel like, okay, I want to go down there at Java and Nanyuki to grab some chips, feel the American lifestyle?
Not yet. I've been here for what? No, I mean on and off.
Yeah.
But this time I've been here for like 2 weeks or so. No, I don't have that urge yet. But I guess I will get that urge sometimes and do that. But it's not like I must have it or else. You know what I'm saying? I prefer this lifestyle a lot better.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast coming direct from the county of Laikipia, right?
Yeah.
I always get confused when we talk about Laikipia and at the same time you're also in Nanyuki. So I hope you loved this story. Please comment. Tell us what you think about Mr. Pluto coming to Africa, enjoying it, and if you have a story that you want to tell, you're always welcome to reach out to me and tell your story. Please consider subscribing to our channel. We have got a Facebook page. We are on Instagram. We are on TikTok and all the other digital spaces. Until another day, bye for now.
Backyard garden, which I cherish because it's got all organic stuff. And this I'm going to cook with some Jamaican dish today that you will taste.
Those are onions, right?
Green onions. It's onion.
Not just onions, green onions.
It's onions, but I'm using the top of it. You know what I'm saying? You'll see what this can do, what it tastes like. Right, and these are spinaches. They call them terera here.
They call it terera?
I think that's what they call it here. I'm just learning stuff here, man.
Yeah.
I think how they say they pick them like this, and they will grow back. That's what they say they do. So I'm picking up a few of them.
Spinach in America.
Yeah, but not like this. Different look, different taste, different kinds. Of course, they are called spinach, but it's different. So, I think I'm doing this right. Am I doing this right?
You're doing it right.
Okay, good.
You also cut it.
Cut it?
Yeah.
And if you cut it?
You don't cut the whole thing.
Yeah.
You just cut.
Oh, like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
how do you get water flowing in here?
In this garden here?
No, in the garden and everywhere.
Okay, we have that tank there that we get water pumped from a borehole some distance away by the county or town, or I'm not sure how that.
So like a borehole.
A borehole. There's a borehole somewhere close by.
Yeah.
That water is pumped from.
And then it gets. Can we have a look at the water? Then it gets clean drinking water.
Well, yeah, you get that water comes from a borehole that we use, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good water. So
good water.
You use it every day to sprinkle the garden.
Well, it's been raining, so it's been good, so that's good. That helps. But yes, we use it for everything, actually. Yeah.
For cooking.
Yeah.
Basically everything.
Yep. Yep.
You have not considered sinking your own well?
Not here. There is a well in the compound that we will draw from eventually, but we don't have space here to do a well.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, great.